The WWE Universe has just witnessed a seismic shift, a fracture so violent it will echo for years to come. What was once the most dominant faction in wrestling history, the Bloodline, has torn itself apart, right before our eyes. And tonight, at Money in the Bank, a brutal civil war has been ignited, a war not just for supremacy, but for legacy, for pride, for honor, and for the soul of the Anoa'i dynasty itself. The Bloodline, led by the tribal chief Roman Reigns, has been a force unlike any other. Generations of Samoan wrestling royalty united under one banner. For years, their dominance was unquestioned. But beneath the surface, tensions festered. Rivalries simmered. Loyalties were tested. The night began with Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. Known for his brutal, merciless style, Fatu was once the ruthless enforcer of the Bloodline. Tonight, he entered the arena to a thunderous ovation, every step heavy with legacy and expectation. The crowd knew something was different. The air crackled with anticipation. Lights flickered. A subtle warning. Then, the unmistakable sound of Solo Sikoa's music echoed through the arena. Confusion swept over the crowd. Solo wasn't scheduled for a match. No confrontation had been announced. But there he was, emerging from the smoke, expression unreadable, silent, deadly. And he wasn't alone. Behind Solo marched Jeff Cobb, a mountain of muscle and menace. An Olympian, a destroyer, a man who, while linked to the Bloodline's world, was never fully trusted inside their circle. Cobb's presence wasn't a coincidence. This was an execution. For weeks, tension had simmered. The backstage cameras caught moments of quiet hostility, uneasy glances, clenched jaws, words unspoken but felt deeply. Jacob Fatu saw Jeff Cobb not just as a rival, but as a threat. A challenger to his brutal reign. And then, the unthinkable. Solo Sikoa. Roman Reigns' right hand, the silent soldier of the Bloodline, stepped between them. A message was clear, this was not just a clash of individuals. This was a tribal reckoning. No one could have predicted what happened next. The opening shot fired, a brutal assault that left the WWE Universe reeling. Blows were exchanged with savage intensity. Blood spilled. Bonds shattered. Behind the curtain, Roman Reigns watched. The tribal chief was no stranger to tough decisions, but this threatened everything. The family he built. The legacy he fought to protect. Tonight was more than just a match or a feud. It was a reckoning. A war for the soul of the Anoa'i dynasty. And as the dust settles, one question remains. Who will survive the Bloodline's brutal fracture? Welcome to Wrestling News CC, your home for the latest, deepest, and most explosive stories in WWE. Today, we dive into the story behind the Bloodline's collapse. The players. The motivations. The aftermath. And the future that now hangs in the balance. The rise of the Bloodline. To understand the fracture, we must first understand the foundation. The Bloodline's story begins decades ago with the Anoa'i family, wrestling royalty whose influence shaped the industry. Legends like The Rock, Rikishi, and Yokozuna paved the way for today's stars. At the helm stands Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, who has ruled WWE with iron will. Solo Sikoa, the Usos, and Jacob Fatu each carried the legacy forward, enforcing Reigns' vision. Their unity was a symbol of strength. But power breeds rivalry. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. Jacob Fatu earned his fearsome reputation through sheer brutality and loyalty, a fierce protector of the family. His role as enforcer was vital, but his pride ran deep. Fatu demanded respect, and saw threats everywhere. Jeff Cobb's arrival was a catalyst. Cobb's Olympic background and destructive style put him on a collision course with Fatu's dominance. What began as silent tension grew into an inevitable confrontation. Solo Sikoa. The silent soldier. Solo Sikoa, often the quiet presence, held immense influence as Roman Reigns' enforcer and cousin. His loyalty was unquestioned, but his motives sometimes shrouded in mystery. Tonight, his involvement changed everything. By aligning with Jeff Cobb, Solo sent a signal that the Bloodline's internal order was cracking. His actions were not just personal, they were political. Jeff Cobb, the outsider with Bloodline ties. Jeff Cobb, the imposing Olympian, brought a new dynamic to the faction. Not a family member, Cobb's allegiance was tactical. His ambitions conflicted with Fatu's, creating a powder keg of resentment. The night of the fracture, Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was meant to be a night of high-stakes competition, a showcase of talent and drama. But behind the scenes, something darker was brewing. The ambush. The betrayal. The blood spilled in the ring. What this means for the Bloodline's future. The implications are staggering. Roman Reigns faces a choice: salvage his family's legacy or watch it burn. The faction's dominance is at stake. New alliances will form. Old wounds will reopen. The roots of tension, behind the scenes. To truly grasp the magnitude of what unfolded at Money in the Bank, we must rewind. Behind the bright lights and roaring crowds, tensions within the Bloodline had been escalating for months. What began as subtle disagreements grew into simmering resentment, and the cracks became impossible to hide. Jacob Fatu, proud and fierce, viewed the arrival of Jeff Cobb not as a strengthening of their ranks, but as an intrusion. Fatu's style, raw, brutal, unfiltered, clashed with Cobb's calculated destruction. They represented two philosophies, one born of loyalty and tradition, the other of opportunism and raw ambition. Backstage, the cameras caught fleeting moments of hostility, a cold stare, a dismissive shrug, a tense exchange of words just out of frame. While the Usos and Solo Sikoa maintained the facade of unity, Jacob and Jeff's rivalry was impossible to ignore. Solo Sikoa's role, more than muscle. Solo Sikoa, often overshadowed by the charisma of Roman Reigns and the raw power of Jacob Fatu, was quietly orchestrating a seismic shift. Known for his silence and discipline, Solo's influence ran deeper than many realized. When Solo emerged at Money in the Bank alongside Jeff Cobb, it was a clear message: loyalty to Roman Reigns did not necessarily mean loyalty to every member of the Bloodline. Solo was a soldier of the tribal chief, but was he also a judge and executioner? As Solo stepped into the ring, his eyes locked on Fatu, the tension exploded into violence. What followed was not just a fight, it was a statement. Every strike, every grapple, echoed with the pain of betrayal. The WWE Universe watched in stunned silence as their once invincible faction tore itself apart, piece by piece. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief's dilemma. Meanwhile, Roman Reigns stood backstage, watching the destruction unfold with a storm of emotions. The tribal chief, known for his ruthless control, faced his greatest test yet. Was this an unavoidable reckoning? A punishment for pride? Or the beginning of the end? Roman's vision of family had always been about strength through unity, but tonight, that vision was fracturing before his eyes. His silence was deafening, a moment of vulnerability rarely seen in the leader who commands WWE's landscape. Could Roman step in and restore order? Or would he let the fracture grow until the Bloodline was no more? The crowd reaction, shock and awe. The WWE Universe, fans packed in the arena and millions watching worldwide, were left breathless. What was meant to be a night of celebration and competition had transformed into a historic moment of chaos and heartbreak. Social media exploded with speculation, outrage, and sorrow. Hashtags trended worldwide. Fans debated, theorized, and mourned the end of an era. This can't be real. The Bloodline is finished. Jacob Fatu versus Jeff Cobb just changed everything. What this means for the WWE landscape. The Bloodline's implosion sends shockwaves far beyond the Anoa'i family. WWE's very balance of power is shifting. The era of dominance led by Roman Reigns has been disrupted, opening the door for new rivalries and alliances. Who will step up to fill the vacuum? Will new factions rise? Will old enemies seize this opportunity? Predictions and what's next? Looking ahead, Wrestling News CC predicts the fallout will be epic. The WWE creative team faces a delicate challenge, harnessing this real emotion and history to craft an unforgettable storyline. Will Jacob Fatu and Jeff Cobb engage in a brutal feud for supremacy? Will Solo Sikoa's loyalties shift further? How will Roman Reigns respond, as a leader, as family, as the tribal chief? As WWE prepares for the coming pay-per-views and weekly shows, every match, every promo, every handshake will be weighed through the lens of this civil war. The bloodline is broken, but the war has only just begun. Thank you for joining Wrestling News CC. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment of WWE's most explosive stories. Stay tuned as we bring you exclusive analysis, insider insights, and all the latest updates on the Bloodline saga. Because in WWE, the family that fights together, doesn't always stay together. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.